I'm Michael Rosen. I'm a writer and broadcaster.
Hi Michael, I'm Helen Johnson. I'm a researcher and a lecturer at the University of Oxford.
And what do you do, Helen?
So I study ocean circulation. So I'm interested in where the ocean moves, why it moves, what it carries with it, what role that plays in our weather and climate, and whether it's likely to change in the future. And the reason I do that is because if we want to predict change in climate and adapt to it, or maybe choose to avoid it, then we really need to understand the planet's systems, and that includes all the water on its surface. The temperatures all around the planet are rising. They've already risen by more than a degree over the last 100, 150 years, most places around the world. And that's because we're emitting carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And that carbon dioxide comes from the coal and oil and gas that we burn in order to make our electricity, in order to fuel our cars, our planes, our trains, our factories, and to heat our homes.
And how does this show itself? You said temperature rising. Well, sitting here in Britain, I might feel, well, the weather's a bit nicer.
An increase in temperature of 1 degree or 3 or 4 degrees, as we might be looking at by the end of the century, might not feel like very much, but it's accompanied by changes in the more extreme bits of our weather. So as the planet warms, we expect more heat waves, more droughts, more really heavy rainfall events.
Which leads to floods.
Which leads to floods. And all these things are the kinds of weather that really impact people's lives and people's livelihoods.
And so what are the challenges in dealing with this? If the places on the planet are drying out, so people can't live, they can't rear their cattle or grow their crops, if there are floods and people are being washed away.
Well, the two things we have to do, one is to reduce the damage by stopping emitting carbon dioxide into the atmosphere and finding other ways to power our factories and our transport and heat our homes. And the other, of course, is to adapt and protect those vulnerable communities, to put in flood defences and to think hard about how we cool cities in certain parts of the world and things like that. So we know how to solve the problem. We've got lots of technologies already underway and under development, and we've started already making more of our energy from renewable sources, for example.
Like wind farms?
Like wind farms and solar panels in some parts of the world. The problem is we're not really making the changes we need to make fast enough. So that's what I see as the major challenge, is that we know what we need to do and the technology exists, and we just need to be cracking on and doing it. But that's hard because when you've got lots of governments and individuals and institutions involved, it's hard to agree and it's hard to kind of collectively decide to move forward. The other big challenge is in keeping it fair. So some of the people who will be most affected and first affected by the challenges of climate change will be the people who haven't played much of a role in putting carbon dioxide in the atmosphere in the first place. So it might be people on small islands in the middle of the Pacific where rising sea level is a real problem for them. It might be people in Africa where parts of the continent are getting drier and agriculture is getting harder, where they've not really contributed to the problem, but they're on the front line in terms of suffering the effects of climate change. And so implementing solutions and making sure that as a world moving forward, we do so fairly, that's going to be another major challenge.
You said fast enough. Can you give me some idea of what we're talking about? Because fast enough, it could mean tomorrow or it could mean 10 years' time. What do you mean by fast enough?
So what I mean by fast enough is probably transitioning away from a carbon-based energy system and transport system by about 2050. Lots of scientists across the world have looked at at what would be a sensible level for us to try and limit the temperature rise to. And they agree that if we can limit that temperature rise to about 1.5 degrees on average over the planet, then that would be a really good thing. If you get higher than that, then the impacts start to be really severe in some parts of the world. And to do that, to limit the temperature rise to about 1.5 degrees, we can only afford to emit about another decade's worth of the amount of carbon dioxide we're currently putting in the atmosphere.
10 years.
So about 10 years. And so you can imagine if we were to start now and just ramp that down, and so we got to zero in about 20 years, then we'd meet that target.